Most people live their entire lives operating at 10% capacity, convinced that the small room they've been pacing in for years is the whole house. You were built for more. You were wired for more. And somewhere deep inside, you past the noise and the fear and the safe choices, something knows it. The tragedy isn't that you failed. The tragedy is that you never tested your limits. You never pushed the walls. You stayed comfortable in a life that fit when you were designed for a life that stretches you. You accepted the narrative that you're average, ordinary, limited by your background or your education or your mistakes. And every day you live beneath your design is a day the world misses what only you can bring. Listen to me carefully. Your manufacturer did not create you with limitations. Your creator did not wire you for mediocrity. The limits you feel, the ceiling you keep hitting, those aren't architectural. They're psychological, they're learned, they're accepted, and they're lies. You've been living in a story someone else wrote. Maybe it was a parent who said you'd never amount to much. Maybe it was a teacher who overlooked you. Maybe it was a friend who betrayed you. And you decided right then that you couldn't trust your own strength. Maybe it was life itself beating you down year after year until you stopped dreaming, stopped reaching, stopped believing you were made for anything beyond survival. And now you're tired. You're functioning. You're getting by. But getting by was never the plan. You weren't designed to just exist. You were designed to create, to build, to lead, to transform. You were given gifts that are still wrapped. You were given strength you've never tested. You were given potential that's been sitting in a warehouse collecting dust while you convinced yourself that this small life, this quiet life, this safe life is all you were meant for. But something's shifting. That's why you're still here. That's why this message found you. Because buried under all the doubt and all the disappointment and all the years of playing small, there's a part of you that refuses to die. There's a part of you that knows you were made for more. Let me tell you something about seeds. You plant a seed in the ground, and for weeks, nothing. The surface looks dead. If you didn't know better, you'd think you wasted your time. But beneath the soil, in total darkness, something's happening. The seed is breaking. It's splitting open. It's dying to what it was so it can become what it's meant to be. And when it finally breaks through the surface, it doesn't apologize for taking so long. It doesn't show up half-grown. It emerges with power, with purpose, with roots so deep the storms can't move it. You've been underground, you've been in the dark, and you thought that meant you were buried. But what if you were planted? What if every betrayal, every setback, every closed door was pressure designed to break you out of the shell you've been hiding in? What if the isolation wasn't rejection, but preparation? See, lions don't raise their cubs in the marketplace. They take them into the wilderness. They put them through tests. They let them get hungry. They make them hunt. Because a lion that's never been tested is just a big cat with sharp teeth. But a lion that's been through the fire, that's been pushed to its limit, that's learned what it's capable of, when everything's on the line, that lion doesn't just survive, that lion dominates. And you've been in the wilderness, you've been tested, but you're still thinking like prey. You're still operating like you need permission to rise. You're still waiting for someone to validate you, to choose you, to open a door for you. But greatness doesn't wait for permission. Greatness takes what belongs to it. I've watched people with half your talent go twice as far because they believe they could. I've seen people with no advantages, no connections, no safety net build empires because they refuse to accept the limits other people try to put on them. And I've seen brilliant people, gifted people, anointed people die with their potential locked inside because they spent their whole lives afraid to fail. Fear is not your enemy. Comfort is. Comfort will rob you faster than failure ever could. because failure teaches you, failure builds you, failure shows you what you're made of. But comfort numbs you. Comfort convinces you that good enough is good enough. Comfort whispers that you've earned the right to coast, to settle, to stop climbing. And here's the dangerous part. Comfort disguises itself as wisdom. It says, be realistic, be practical. Don't risk what you have. But realistic is just another word for limited. Practical is just another word for small. And playing it safe is just another way to guarantee you'll never know what you were truly capable of. There was once a craftsman who spent years perfecting his blade. People would come to his workshop and watch him work, and they'd say, it's sharp enough, you can stop now. But he kept sharpening. He kept refining because he wasn't interested in good enough. He wasn't creating a tool that worked. He was creating a masterpiece. And when he was finally done, that blade didn't just cut, it transformed everything it touched. You are that blade. And life has been sharpening you. Every hard season, every painful lesson, every moment you wanted to quit but didn't, that was the sharpening. But you've been so focused on the pain of the process, you haven't realized what's being formed. You've been so busy surviving, you haven't noticed you're being prepared for something that requires everything you've been through. Your pain has purpose. Your struggle has meaning. And the very things you've been ashamed of, the very things you've tried to hide, those are the raw materials of your greatest work. The problem is that most people never discover what they're truly capable of because they never push themselves beyond familiar territory. They stay in relationships that don't challenge them. They stay in jobs that don't require their best. They stay in routines that don't demand growth. And year after year, they wonder why they feel stuck, why they feel empty, why they feel like something's missing. What's missing is the you that you've never met. The you that exists on the other side of your fear. The you that only emerges when you stop playing it safe and start playing for keeps. That version of you is stronger, wiser, more powerful than anything you've experienced so far. But it won't come to you. You have to go get it. And the journey to that version of yourself will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you certainty. It will cost you the approval of people who are threatened by your growth. But what you gain will be worth infinitely more than what you lose. You'll gain clarity. You'll gain purpose. You'll gain a life that actually means something. I want you to understand something fundamental about how you were designed. You were not created with an off switch. You were not created with a finish line. You were created with infinite capacity for growth, for expansion, for becoming. The moment you stop growing, you start dying. Not physically at first, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You start dying the moment you accept that where you are is where you'll always be. And I see it everywhere. I see people in their 30s who've already given up. I see people in their 20s who are living like they're 70. I see young bodies with old spirits, young faces with dead eyes, young people with ancient resignation, and it breaks my heart because they don't even know what they're missing. They don't know what it feels like to be fully alive, fully engaged, fully committed to something bigger than themselves. You were made for mission. You were made for meaning. You were made to build something that outlasts you. And every day you spend chasing comfort instead of purpose is a day you betray your design. Before I continue, answer one question honestly. When was the last time you did something that truly scared you? When was the last time you reached for something you weren't sure you could grab? When was the last time you believed in your own capacity more than you believed in your limitations? If you're still listening, something inside you is waking up. Because here's what I know. You didn't come this far to stay where you are. You didn't survive everything you survived just to build a small life. You didn't endure all that pressure just to stay compressed. Something's breaking open. Something's breaking through. And the next season of your life isn't about addition, it's about multiplication. You grow in silence. You heal in silence. You rise in silence. The world doesn't need to see you transforming. The world just needs to see you transform. Stop performing your process. Stop announcing your plans. Stop seeking validation for your vision. Just build, just grow, just become. There's a kind of tree that grows in the desert for years. It looks small, weak, barely surviving, but beneath the surface, it's sending roots 100 feet deep. And when the storm comes, when the drought comes, when everything around it dies, that tree stands. Not because it looked impressive, not because it grew fast, but because it built a foundation no one could see. You've been building foundations. You've been going deep when everyone else went wide. You've been developing character when everyone else was chasing clout, and it felt like you were falling behind. It felt like you were wasting time. But you weren't falling behind. You were being prepared for a weight others can't carry. See, there are levels of blessing you can't sustain without preparation. There are doors you can't walk through without character. There are mantles you can't wear without having been tested. And if you got everything you wanted before you were ready for it, it would destroy you. So the wait wasn't punishment. The wait was protection. The closed doors weren't rejection. They were redirection. And every time you thought God forgot about you, he was actually positioning you for something that required exactly what you were becoming in the dark. But here's where most people get stuck. They understand the season of preparation. They even embrace it. But then they don't know when to transition. They don't know when to shift from building in private to manifesting in public. They stay hidden when it's time to emerge. They stay silent when it's time to speak. They stay small when it's time to expand. And I need you to hear this. There is a time to be planted, and there is a time to break through the soil. There is a time to develop in secret, and there is a time to step into the open. There is a time to learn, and there is a time to lead. And if you miss your moment because you're too comfortable in the cocoon, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been. Your moment is now, not someday, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel completely ready. Now, with what you have, with what you know, with who you are, because you will never feel completely ready. Readiness is a myth sold to you by fear to keep you paralyzed. Let me tell you about a young eagle. When it's time to fly, the mother eagle doesn't ask if it's ready. She doesn't wait for it to volunteer. She pushes it out of the nest. And for a terrifying moment, that eagle is falling, tumbling through the air, convinced it's going to die. But somewhere in the fall, instinct kicks in. Wings that have never flown suddenly remember what they were made for. Muscles that have never been tested suddenly engage. And what looked like death becomes the moment of awakening. You're being pushed. Life is pushing you. Circumstances are pushing you. That restlessness inside you is pushing you. And you can fight it. You can climb back into the nest. You can choose safety over destiny. Or you can spread your wings and discover that you were built for this. That every single thing you've been through has been developing muscles you're about to need. But you have to jump. You have to move. You have to take action. Even when your knees are shaking and your hands are trembling and your mind is screaming at you to stay where it's safe. Because safe is the most dangerous place you can be. Safe is where dreams go to die. Safe is where potential goes to waste. Safe is where you spend your whole life wondering what if. And I refuse to let you get to the end of your life with a heart full of what ifs. I refuse to let you stand at the finish line with your gifts still wrapped, your songs still unsung, your books still unwritten, your businesses still unbuilt, your message still unshared. I refuse to let you waste the investment that was made in you. Do you understand how much went into making you? Do you understand the precision, the intentionality, the purpose behind your existence? You are not an accident. You are not a random collision of atoms. You are a deliberate creation with a specific assignment. And everything you need to fulfill that assignment is already inside you, but it won't activate itself. It won't deploy itself. You have to call it forth. You have to demand more from yourself. You have to raise your standards, raise your expectations, raise your level of commitment. You have to stop accepting excuses from yourself. Stop letting yourself off the hook. Stop giving yourself permission to quit when it gets hard, because it will get hard, it will get uncomfortable, it will get lonely. There will be days when you question everything, days when you wonder if you made a mistake, days when going back looks more appealing than pressing forward. And those are the days that define you. Those are the days that separate the people who make history from the people who just study it. You were made to make history, not in the sense that everyone will know your name, but in the sense that your life will ripple through time, that the decisions you make today will affect generations you'll never meet, that the courage you show now will give someone else permission to be brave, that the example you set will become a blueprint for someone who's watching from a distance, wondering if it's possible. And it is possible. Everything you've been dreaming about, everything you've been praying for, everything you've been working toward in secret is possible. Not easy, not guaranteed, not without sacrifice, but possible. And possibility is all you need. Possibility is the crack in the wall. Possibility is the opening. Possibility is the invitation. But you have to RSVP. You have to show up. You have to bring everything you've got to the table, because this next season won't reward your potential. It will reward your effort. It won't celebrate your talent. It will celebrate your consistency. It won't applaud your gifts. It will applaud your discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Discipline is what carries you when motivation fades. Discipline is what makes you show up on the days you don't feel like it. And here's the secret that nobody tells you. You don't need to feel like it. You don't need to be inspired. You don't need to be in the mood. You just need to decide that your commitment is stronger than your feelings. Your feelings will lie to you. Your feelings will tell you you're not ready. Your feelings will tell you it's too hard. Your feelings will tell you to wait for a better time. But your spirit knows the truth. Your spirit knows you were built for this. Your spirit knows the time is now. And when you learn to lead with your spirit instead of following your feelings, you become unstoppable. There was a lion cub born in captivity, raised around humans. It ate when they fed it. It slept when they let it. It performed when they wanted a show. And for years, it thought that was life. Until one day, it heard something, a roar, distant, deep, primal. And something inside that cub woke up, something it didn't have language for, something it didn't understand, but it couldn't ignore it. And slowly, painfully, that cub began to remember it wasn't made for cages, it was made to rule. You've been in a cage, not a physical one, a mental one. A cage made of fear, of doubt, of other people's opinions, of past failures, of future anxieties. And you've been in it so long, you started to think it was home, but it's not. It never was. And that restlessness you feel, that dissatisfaction, that hunger for something more, that's not you being ungrateful. That's you remembering what you were made for. You were not made to fit in. You were made to stand out. You were not made to follow. You were made to lead. You were not made to survive. You were made to thrive. And every single day you spend pretending to be less than you are is a day you rob the world of what only you can give. Stop dimming your light because other people are comfortable in the dark. Stop shrinking because your growth makes insecure people nervous. Stop apologizing for your gifts, for your vision, for your hunger. The world doesn't need another person playing small. The world needs you at full capacity. And full capacity doesn't mean perfect. It doesn't mean flawless. It means fully engaged, fully committed, fully alive. It means showing up with everything you have, even when you're scared, especially when you're scared. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is deciding that what you're building matters more than what you're afraid of. You've been given a vision. Maybe you've tried to ignore it. Maybe you've tried to talk yourself out of it. Maybe you've told yourself you're not qualified, not connected, not ready. But vision doesn't come to the qualified. It comes to the willing. And the fact that you can see it means you were chosen to build it. But vision without action is just a daydream. And action without vision is just activity. You need both. You need the clarity to know where you're going and the courage to take the first step even when the whole path isn't clear. Especially when the whole path isn't clear. Because here's the truth about the journey. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. And then the next step reveals itself. And then the next. And before you know it, you're standing somewhere you never thought you'd reach, looking back at a person who almost gave up, who almost settled, who almost let fear win, and you'll be so grateful you didn't. Right now, in this moment, you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads back to comfort, back to safety, back to the known. The other path leads into the unknown, into risk, into everything you've been afraid to become. And you get to choose. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. And I'm telling you, choose the unknown. Choose the risk. Choose the version of yourself that scares you a little. Because that's the version that changes everything. That's the version that builds legacies. That's the version that looks back with no regrets. You can do more than you think, more than you've been told, more than you've ever attempted. And the only way to prove it is to try. Not try like you're testing the waters. Try like your life depends on it. Try like everything you've been through was preparing you for this exact moment, because it was. The world is waiting for what you're carrying. The people you're meant to serve are waiting for you to show up. The life you're meant to live is waiting for you to stop rehearsing and start performing. And every day you delay is a day that destiny sits on pause. So move, build, create, risk. Fail if you have to, but fail forward. Learn, adjust, try again. Because the only real failure is dying with your gifts still inside you. The only real tragedy is reaching the end and realizing you spent your whole life preparing for a moment you never stepped into. You are more powerful than you know. You are more capable than you believe. You are more anointed than you feel. And it's time to start living like it. Not arrogantly, not recklessly, but boldly, intentionally, unapologetically. Because you were not made to blend in. You were made to break through. This is your moment. This is your season. And everything you've been through has been building toward this. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for fear to go away. It won't. But you don't need it to. You just need to be more committed to your purpose than you are controlled by your fear. Get up, show up, step up. The world doesn't need another excuse. The world needs your gift, and your gift needs your courage. So give it, not someday, today, not when you're ready, now. Because you're as ready as you're going to be, and the world can't wait any longer. If this message spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today. And if you want more messages that grow your soul, subscribe, because your journey has just begun.